Here is the thing, not everyone likes family planning. Some people don't trust injections. Others forget pills. But in Mama Strike 7's case, her womb simply refused to rest. Her name was Ifeoma, sharp babe, smart, sweet body. The type of body that makes people ask, "You sure you're not still in secondary school?" But no, Ifeoma was a full-grown woman with 2 degrees, a fat salary, and a waist that made waist trainer sellers cry. She married Chuka, cool guy, nothing serious. He was working in a private company as assistant logistics officer to the admin assistant supervisor. One of those titles that sound important but come with 85,000 salary and sucks Gary lifestyle. But Ifeoma didn't mind. She was earning 6 figures and still bringing change. Love is love, abi? Their honeymoon was sweet. You know that sweet where nobody wears clothes for 3 days. That's kind. So when she got pregnant a month after the wedding, no one was shocked. What a beautiful start to marriage, her mother said. Fast forward 9 months, Ifeoma gave birth to Testimony, bouncing baby boy with eyelashes like he came straight from TikTok. They were happy. They decided to wait at least 2 years before another one. But life had plans. 3 months after her son stopped crying at night, Ifeoma started vomiting. She thought it was food poisoning. Doctor said, "Congratulations." For what? Who did I congratulate? Pregnant again? She screamed so loud, NEPA brought light by mistake. She called her husband. "Chuka, I'm pregnant." Chuka said, "Again? Maybe it's spiritual fruitfulness." She gave birth to the second child. This one they named Mistake. Not publicly, but all the neighbors knew. Even the midwives whispered, "Congrats again, ma, for Mistake." At this point, even Ifeoma's womb was tired, but her husband, fresh energy every night, like a generator with premium fuel. The type that says, "Babe, let me just put only the tip." The next thing, she's buying baby clothes again. After Mistake, Ifeoma bought 3 alarm clocks to remind her to take her pills. She even set one to shout, "Ifeoma, swallow your medicine." But pregnancy said, "You can't run." Just as she was getting back to ship, preparing for a work trip to Ghana, she felt that same strange feeling again. Dizziness, sensitivity, and that special kind of hunger where only goat meat pepper soup and agidi would do. She hissed, "God, I beg, not again." But God was silent, and the pregnancy test, positive. She stared at the stick like it insulted her mother. She called Chuka again. "Babe, I'm pregnant." There was silence. Then his voice came. "Wow, God is multiplying us. Kingdom expansion." She threw her phone. This one, she didn't even name the baby until after delivery. During antenatal, when the nurse asked for the unborn child's name, she said, "I don't know, maybe regret or accident. Ask me later." When the baby finally came, a girl, Ifeoma was too tired to cry. One of the midwives shouted, "She done born again, oh." And another nurse said, "This womb is on auto renewal." At the naming ceremony, neighbors came with all sorts of gifts, baby wipes, diapers, and condoms. One man dropped a box of condoms with a card that said, "Use this before you turn this street into children's church." Another auntie whispered, "Ifeoma, are you training for Guinness Book of Records?" She smiled, fake laughed, and took the gift. But deep down, something wasn't adding up. She had taken her pills religiously, swallowed them like Holy Communion. So, how come? She sat in front of her mirror, looked at herself and said, "Omo, now who do me this thing?" By the time baby number 3 arrived, Ifeoma's maternity gown had become a uniform. Her tailor didn't even need to take fresh measurements anytime. She just said, "I know the belly size, ma. Don't worry." Even her church women's group added her to a new subgroup called Fruitful Vine International. She didn't apply, they just added her. Then came strike number 4, a baby boy who arrived barely 10 months after Regretella. Yes, that's what Ifeoma secretly called baby number 3. At this point, the estate security man asked her husband if he was donating children to the nation, and then the real gossip began. 2 women at her compound gate one morning. Is this woman planning to form super eagles? Forget super eagles. At this rate, she go complete team with coach and referee. Even the compound WhatsApp group changed her name to Madam National Team. The shade was becoming sunlight. One random Tuesday, Ifeoma went to buy baby formula. The woman selling greeted her like this. Good afternoon, my dear. You want 900 grams or 12 children's size? That was the day Ifeoma knew something spiritual is going on. Either it's God, village people, or her husband, sneaky baby factory agenda. So she tried to act smart. She stopped pills and went for an IUD. The insertion nurse winked too much, but she ignored it. After all, these days, you take what you get. The nurse smiled and said, everything is set. Ifeoma smiled back and said, again, my womb can finally go on sabbatical. But 3 months later, her period missed again. She rushed to the hospital, praying it was malaria. The doctor checked, looked at her, smiled. Congratulations, Mrs. Chuka. Baby number 5 is loading. She screamed so loud, a woman in the next ward, who was in labor, paused her contractions to ask, who they shout like that? That night, Ifeoma didn't cry. She laughed. She laughed so hard, her husband came running in. She pointed at him and said, you are the problem. You are the one exporting pregnancy into my soul. He blinked like a confused goat. Babe, what are you talking about? She snapped. At this point, we need a stadium. Let's just build one, move in with all our children and their future teammates. Chuka just said, children are blessing. She hissed, at this point, I need deliverance. At this point, Ifeoma was convinced her womb had a mind of its own. Not a spiritual one, a physical mind. But how do you explain 5 children in 5 years without breaks, without warnings, without contraceptives? Even preter's rest after overuse, but her womb, it was on yearly subscription. No password, no OTP, just automatic renewal. One morning, she stood in front of the mirror, in her wrapper, rubbed her belly and said, Oya now, are you not tired? You know they go on strike? Her belly didn't respond, but her eyes caught something else. Her waist, still intact, still curving, still snatching. And when the real confusion began, women were mad. Her office were madder. Despite all the pregnancies, her body refused to scatter. She still had flat tummy, fresh skin, and a backside that gave mothers one self-esteem issues. Someone in her department asked her, Ma, sorry are your children spiritual because you don't look like you've ever been touched? Another jealous lady whispered in the toilet, some people are not real. Maybe she's using waist trainer in the womb. But the problem wasn't her body. It was the mystery pregnancies. She had taken pills, calendar method, IUD. The IUD was supposed to be the final bus stop. She remembered that day. The nurse had smiled like someone who just won Best Niger. Don't worry, madam. No baby will pass here again. For 5 years. Lie. 3 months later, boom, pregnancy number 5. She didn't even bother crying. At this point, even her newborn started side-eyeing her. Strike number 4 once threw her butter and shouted, no more. She named baby 5, strike 5, not out of pettiness, but documentation purposes. The family photo was starting to look like a NYSC camp. So she went back to pills again. And this time, she didn't play. She took them religiously, with water, with juice, with fufu, anything as long as it entered. But something in her spirit whispered, Omo, something is wrong. She looked at Chuka one day as he folded baby clothes and smiled like a man fulfilling purpose. And she said, Babe, be honest, are you tampering with my pills? He blinked like someone caught stealing suya. Pills? How would I? Why would I? Me? Exactly, she said. You are stammering like a guilty rat. He laughed nervously and changed the topic to pap temperature, but she wasn't laughing. That night, she took action. She ordered a mini spy camera, 18,500 plus delivery, and hid it inside her makeup box right beside her pill bottle. One Sunday morning when Chuka thought she had gone for early morning worship, he entered the room, opened the bottle, removed the original pills, replaced them, and calmly put the bottle back like he was adjusting cutlery. That evening, Ifeoma locked herself in the bathroom. No sponge, no wrapper, no tears, just pure thunder in her bones. Chuka, she whispered, you really opened my destiny like NAFDAC seal and inserted sabotage. She took a deep breath, and then she said the one thing that told us the story was about to switch. Strike 6, it no go happen. By the time strike 5 turned 6 months, Ifeoma's office had already nicknamed her Madam Maternity. Some even called her HR's enemy behind her back. She walked into work one morning, still snapping in heels, hips swinging, baby fat missing, and the receptionist whispered, Madam, you don't resume again? I thought she just wait. She pregnant again? Another one replied, even federal government, they take break from election, but this woman, never. Let's rewind a bit. Ifeoma worked in a top-tier financial firm in Lagos, air-conditioned elevators, corporate suits, weekly PowerPoint stress, but her bosses were no longer smiling. On her second maternity leave, they were still nice. On the third, they got worried. By the fourth, one HR girl even asked her during her clearance, Ma, do you need a baby cot in your office permanently? On the fifth, they called her in. The HR manager, a woman who wore glasses that made her look like someone's dreams in Excel, folded her arms and said, Ifeoma, we're beginning to think you're using our benefits to run a side baby project. Ifeoma smiled politely. No, ma, it's just yearly blessing. Very seasonal. The woman raised one eyebrow. Is this your womb or generator? Must it come on every year? Even her boss, Mr. Falani, the man who used to praise her for being sharp and reliable, stopped sending her big client projects. He walked past her once and muttered, Madam Deliverance. She knew then she was slowly losing her ground. And it wasn't just her job, it was her reputation. Yet in all this, her body kept giving people confusion. I mean, who gives birth to 5 children and still look like a campus slay queen? She walked into a client's meeting one day and a young intern said, Ma, I thought you were the client's daughter. Someone on the team replied, don't be deceived. This one has children like MTN recharge card. Another said, if she born one more, now volleyball team straight. Back home, Chuka kept acting innocent, still massaging her feet, still bringing her tea, still calling her my queen. But she had seen the video, she had seen the sabotage. Now she was planning a comeback. So she started feeding him with small lies. Babe, don't worry, I'm done with pills. I'm tired. Let's just flow naturally. I trust God. Chuka smiled like someone who just got promoted in wickedness. Yes, now, God's plan is always the best. What he didn't know, Ifeoma had visited another hospital, a private one, quiet, hidden, cash only. She did it. She tied her tubes, privately, peacefully, permanently. And just like that, the womb went on retirement. She didn't tell a soul. She only whispered to herself as she walked out of the hospital. Strike 6, your contract has been terminated. 3 months passed, then 6, then 9, no pregnancy. For the first time in 5 years, Ifeoma's womb was silent, peaceful, calm like a retired general, sipping coconut water at the beach. Even her neighbors noticed. Madam Bolanle, the estate gossip coordinator, shouted from across the fence, Auntie Ifeoma, even I say your womb finally gets Wi-Fi signal for rest. Ifeoma just waved and smiled, her heart dancing as onto. But in the sitting room, Chuka was sweating, small, quietly, like a thief in a hot warehouse. He's been dropping hints for 2 months now. Babe, no more pregnancy signs, no vomiting, no craving of clay or burnt jollof. She would reply with a sweet smile, no dear, maybe the Holy Spirit is holding it back for now. Chuka laughed nervously and brought out pineapple. Another day he tried romance. Babe, let's try something new tonight, just in case. She rolled her eyes. Chuka, beg, I'm tired. He panicked and bought her shawarma. Maybe you need energy. She collected it, ate it with Coke, and still said, no entry. At work, Ifeoma was glowing. Her waist returned with vengeance. Her walk had swagger bounce. One of her colleagues whispered, "She never born this year, oh, miracle." Another added, "Maybe she gave her womb out for loan." Meanwhile, Chuka was holding night vigils with his eyes. Lord, what's going on? He bought different kinds of vitamins, started checking her food, even tried switching her pills again. But there was nothing to switch, because this time, there was no pills. Then came the final straw. One afternoon, he returned home early, saw her laughing on the phone, laughing from the stomach, the kind of laugh women laugh when they're free, fulfilled and not carrying a third trimester baby. He sat beside her and asked, "Babe, hope all is well." She looked at him, paused, smiled deeply, and then dropped the bomb. "Chuka, I tied my tubes." Silence. You could hear a rat tiptoe across the ceiling. His lips parted. His left eyes blinked first. "You what?" She leaned in, crossed her legs like a talk show guest and said, "I tied my tubes 6 months ago, after baby number 5. "Oh, sorry." Chuka froze, then stood, then sat again. You. Why? Why would you do that without telling me?" She raised a brow. "Same reason you were swapping my pills and paying that nurse to insert air instead of IED. He gasped. "Ifoma, how? Spy camera, makeup box. You really thought I was that naive?" That night he didn't eat. He just sat in the dark, hand on his head like someone who lost 10 million to sports betting. Because for the first time, the baby factory had closed, the football team had stopped at 5, and Ifoma, she was back. The next morning, Chuka woke up like someone recovering from a spiritual slap. He didn't speak, didn't smile, just sat quietly, staring into space like a man who just discovered the remote doesn't work and the TV is stuck on Telemundo. Ifoma walked past in a red robe, hips swinging like betrayal. "Good morning," she said. He mumbled something in Greek. But the silence didn't last long. That evening, she confronted him. "Why, Chuka? Why would you sabotage my pills? Pay nurses to lie. Why would you do this to me?" At first, he denied it, stammered, shook head. But when she showed him the video, he broke. "You were too powerful, Ifoma," she blinked. "What?" "You were too beautiful, too successful, too respected. People feared you more than they feared me in this marriage." He dropped his head. I just wanted you to slow down, to need me, to depend on me, the way wives are meant to." Silence. Ifoma stared at him like she was seeing a ghost. "So, you used my body to fight your insecurity." "I didn't mean for it to go that far. Chuka, you turned me into a baby-making machine. You risked my life, my job, my sanity, because of your ego." He knelt down. "Forgive me, please. I was afraid I would lose you." She looked at him, smiled, then said, "You already did." From that day, things changed. Chuka tried to make peace. He cleaned, cooked, even offered to open a baby boutique. But Ifoma had moved on mentally. She resumed work with renewed energy. She got promoted. She even launched her side business, Strike Beauty, a skincare line inspired by surviving motherhood and betrayal. People often asked her, "How did you survive 5 births and still glowed like this?" She would laugh and say, "Because I stopped birthing children and started birthing boundaries." They say, peace is priceless, but Ifoma didn't realize how heavy peace could feel until she finally had it. For the first time in years, she woke up not pregnant, not dizzy, and not calculating ovulation like Nekomat. Her body still banging, her mind sharper than ever, her heart finally resting. She didn't hate Chuka, no. Hate takes too much energy. She simply stopped shrinking herself to make him feel big. She stopped waiting for him to clap before she danced. And most importantly, she stopped birthing children to feed his ego. She focused on herself, her work, her skincare business, and her 5 little blessings. Testimony, mistake, regretella, strike 4, and strike 5. Her kids knew her schedule. They knew mommy had meetings, mommy had money to make. Mommy was no longer anybody's baby factory. When HR asked her to lead a workshop for youth female professionals, she stood tall, wore her red heels, and said on the mic, "I don't just balance work and motherhood. I balance betrayal, pressures, and 5 C-section. So yes, I am your mentor. They gave her a standing ovation. As for Chuka, he was now a humbled house husband, washing uniforms, packing lunch boxes, braiding his daughter's hair with beads that screamed justice. Sometimes Ifeoma would smile at him and say, "This is the family you tried to use against me. Congratulations, now manage it." People ask, will you ever forgive him? She'll reply, "I already did, but forgiveness doesn't mean I forget, and it definitely doesn't mean I'll hand you the remote again." Her favorite quote, "I stopped birthing babies and started birthing boundaries." And just like that, she got her life back, and she never lost her glow. The end. Some of the lessons to be learned from this story. Jealousy in marriage can wear a smile. Never surrender your body to someone else's insecurity. Love without respect is a trap. Birth control is personal. So is power. I hope you enjoyed this interesting story. Please go ahead and share this story to someone you know that will enjoy this masterpiece. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment on what you learned about this story. And I will see you in the next one, my loves. Till then, bye. Mwah.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. Please click on the subscribe button to support us, turn on the post notification to get notified when I upload a new story, like, share, and comment your thoughts. Till then, bye.